not that, no problem.
No, we just forgot about everything. We don't know what to
That's
ask
right.
anyway.
Some are very good, some are very forgetful.
All right, okay. Let's do a little bit of review. What I'm going to do today is I will just go on to what we did last week, but I finished all what we do. That's on chapter 7. Okay, there are quite a number of important things that we sort of left out. Okay, we see how it goes, and then if we have time, we'll go on to chapter 8. If not, then we have to wait for the next 2 weeks. Okay, chapter 7 itself. Okay, chapter 7 is the first dream that Daniel had. Okay, the other dream that he has in Daniel 2 that he recorded was by Nebuchadnezzar, right? But now he had his own dreams. And I mentioned in the last session that if you look at chapter 7 itself, there is no mentions about what the animals are. Okay, they did not tell anything. So what we have to do is we have to use the method that we talked about earlier on, and that is using the idea that the prophecies are actually a spiral. Okay, they revolve over and over all the different prophecy itself, and then make it into something that's understandable. So what we will do is we will compare chapter 2, chapter 7, and chapter 8, okay, to find out what those animals are about. And last week we learned that the lions represents Babylon's. We learned that the bear, okay, that's on one side represents Middle Persia, similar to the two arms, okay. Then the leopard with the four wings, they represent Greece together with the brass torso of the statue. And then you have this dreadful creature that Daniel couldn't recognize. Okay, all the rest he can recognize, the features that he can recognize, but the last one he couldn't recognize. Okay, and that is Rome if you compare it with the 2 legs. Okay, and of course the 2 legs ended up with the toes. So that is what we have. Okay, similarly, when we compare with Daniel 8, we find that the bear and the rams are very similar. How do we know that they're similar? Well, the bear was on one side and had to raise up on the other side. So one side was stronger than the other. In the case of the ram, okay, we got 2 horns. Okay, one was bigger than the other. Okay, and so we know that it's Middle Persia. All right. Then, of course, after Middle Persia comes the goat, and then the little horn. Okay, so by comparing, what I did was I compared the different chapters to see how they coincide, so that I know what they are. Okay, that is one thing useful about in Daniel itself. Same with Revelation. In Revelation, you have to compare. All right, you compare and you can see the similarities, then you'll know. Okay, and when we talk about the little horns, when we talk about the little horn itself, it's very important that we actually go into Revelation, because Revelation has a lot more details on the little horn. Okay, so I encourage you that after this is over, you want to look into Revelation itself to see what it is. Okay, right. All right. Hi, David. David has a message for everyone. Okay, so once we know where they lie, that was what we did. Then it's easier for us to compare. Now, let's carry on from there. Okay, so Daniel had these visions of everything, all the animals moving and so on. And after that, okay, after that, what happened was that he had a slightly change in the vision itself. Okay, from earth itself with all the animals come. By the way, take note. Okay, when Daniel was looking, he saw 4 different animals coming up one after the other. Okay, 4 different ones coming up from the sea. Okay, I'll talk more about that a little later. Then from the earth itself, suddenly he was taken up. Okay, he was taken up to heaven itself. Okay, and he had these visions. Okay, some people call it a theophany. He had this vision in heaven itself, and he saw thrones Now notice that the throne over here, the first part is plural. In other words, there were many thrones. Okay, in King James Version itself, they actually mentioned that thrones were cast down. Now it's a little bit of a translation because when they translate King James, they were using the old way of doing it, cast down. What they actually mean was to put in place, to place into there. So the first part, they said there were thrones, so there were many thrones. And then later on in the later part of verse 9, they said there was only one main throne. Okay, and the main throne was where the Ancient of Days were sitting. All right, so that's what it is. And then he looked into the vision itself. He saw the Ancient of Days, and then he described the Ancient of Days. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I think we know who the Ancient of Days is. Okay, it's quite obvious. We know who is. This is God the Father. Okay, and apparently he had his own throne over there, and then they described the throne with fiery streams and so on. If you study into the book of Ezekiel, the first few chapters, you go into the book of Revelation, the first 2 chapters, you have very similar vision of God the Father. Okay, now what I'm interested in is the courts part, and the books were open because it tells us of a scene. Okay, yep, you see a gathering, but what does it mean? Okay, why suddenly they're talking about animals, all beasts, and then suddenly it appears a court or thrones laid all over. Okay, so puzzled. Okay, so let's find out a little bit on that. Now, in the book of Daniel, they didn't mention how many, they just said thrones with the S. Okay, so we do not know how many, but if you look into Revelation chapter 4, John actually saw the thrones. They had one throne, and then around the throne, there were 24 elders sitting in their own thrones around, okay, on the seat itself. So there were 24. Daniel did not see that. Apparently, Daniel did not count. He was distracted. He was looking at something else. Okay, so there were elders. It looks like it's some sort of a meeting or something. Okay, now what was interesting was that the last part, he says, and the books were opened. What does it mean by the books were opened? Okay, what were these people doing? Okay, in the Bible itself, there were many books that were mentioned. In Revelation again, okay, Revelation and Daniel are very close. In Revelation, again mentioned that books were opened. Okay, and God was standing there, all the books were opened, and there were several books. One of them is called the Book of Life, one of them was called the book according to the works, and so on. Okay, then in Malachi, they talk about the books of remembrance. Okay, and so on. In 1 John, in Hebrews 8, again, okay, there is a book. Okay, and what happened is that when you confess your sin, all your sins will be taken away, and you remember no more. Okay, and things like that. In Ezekiel, they talk about your deeds. Every little deed that you do, whether good or bad, will be actually recorded. So what are these books? What was happening? Okay, I summarized these books. I think there were a little bit more, but I just briefly summarized them into 3 main books that were there. So God the Father was there, 24 elders were there, and they opened the books. And these books were the books of deeds. In the books of deeds, they actually record every little thing that you do, every thought that you think about. Okay, they record it there. It's like part of your character. They have a good recording over there. Okay, then there's a book of remembrance. Okay, in the book of remembrance itself, every time you confess yourself or confess and you repent, and everything that you did for God will be recorded in the book of remembrance. To me, the most important book, okay, that was mentioned is the book of life. Okay, it seems like this is a very important book. Moses was telling God, say, God, don't destroy the people. Okay, if you were to destroy them, remove my name from the book of life. So this book of life seems to be the most important. As I studied this book of life, actually seems to imply that when you build a relationship with Jesus Christ, when you're born again, your name will be written in the book of life. Okay, so that is a very important thing. And when you go to when you go on to heaven and you are put in front of this group of people, okay, if your name is written in the book of life, you will be allowed to go into heaven. If your name is not found in the book of life, then you go into condemnation. Okay, so the book of life is very important. And what is very frightening is this. Even though they have written your name in the book of life, there is a possibility that they can blot your name off from the book of life. Okay, so we have to make sure that we continue with the relationship, okay, with God, so that our name will remain in the book of life. Okay, it doesn't matter what is recorded in the book of deeds. It doesn't remember what is important, what is in the book of remembrance. Okay, you want to make sure that your name is in the book of life. Okay, welcome, David. Okay, now, so what we are actually looking in, and if you study in the Revelation, it's the same thing. They're looking into a judgment scene. Okay, the courts were open. Okay, the courts were open, your books were open, and they were judging you. They were going through the thing itself. So Daniel showed us that just after the last beast, after all his terrible acts, the judgment will appear. Okay, the judgment will come. Okay, and in this judgment, everyone, living or dead, okay, will be judged. Now, in Ellen G. White, in her manuscript itself, she mentioned some reference to this. Okay, and what she did was she said that in this book itself, everything that we do, even tiny little remarks, are all recorded in detail, accurately recorded. Okay, whether it is sinners or not, everything will be recorded. And she mentioned something. She said that the recording is an exact representation of the character of each individual. Okay, so what you are will be recorded. Okay, whatever you say, whatever you think, whatever you do, everything will be recorded. Okay, and she described it as though someone was painting you. Now, I'm not sure how exactly they record it. Okay, I don't think they have a book like what we have. Okay, they must have some way of recording it so much so that we can actually see a representation of ourselves. Maybe it might be a three-dimensional hologram or something. All right. She also mentioned this other thing. She said that everything will be written in the book of heaven with unerring accuracy. Okay. Now, the next part is very important. She said that every one of us has a certain limit that we can reach. Okay. And as long as we are below that limit, okay, God is merciful enough to say, all right, we carry on with you. He bears and he forbears with our transgression. Okay. Until when it comes to a point where you find that the limit is over, then what will happen? God will say that, all right, you have overgone your limit. Then he will allow Satan or the destructive agency of Satan to go in and destroy. All right. So many times you read, you see in the Bible, you see that, oh, Pharaoh did such and such a thing. Okay. That's because his limit has gone beyond. Okay. God was very, very patient with him. He gave him 10 supernatural signs, but he did not believe. So his level is over what it should be. And God has to allow Satan to destroy him. Okay, and things like that. So many times we don't understand what is God's wrath. This is what is God's wrath. God's wrath is he forbears you until a certain point where it doesn't allow you to go further. All right. So that is where he is. Now, if the amount of iniquity that we have done is below that level, you find that God will, okay, bear with him until what he called as a set time. And that was the scene that we saw in Daniel, where God is going to judge everybody. Okay. All right. Anyone has any query on that? It's quite straightforward, so it's not too difficult. Okay.
Well, I can understand this concept. Like, you know, Hitler, I mean, just for example, he destroyed how many millions of Jews? before he died.
Mm.
You know, I mean, that limit is, I mean, unfathomable.
I do not understand. Nebuchadnezzar had a little bit of limit. Okay, but God says, all right, okay, you haven't reached a limit yourself. So, Eva, I cannot answer how or what is the limit. All I know is that there is a limit for everyone. Okay, and I believe that that limit actually is a lot. Okay, like at the time of Noah, the people were given 120 years. Okay, what happened? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
A bit
My-
laggy, that's all.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. My wife said that she cannot hear me. Okay,
You know, your wife never hears it. You know,
Yeah.
they never hear their husband.
yeah, I understand. Okay, anyway, yeah, so I really do not know what the limit is, okay, but there is a limit. Okay, some people, it takes 120 years. Some of them take maybe a short time. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Okay, all right, so, but the good thing is this, God is just, okay? He, when a person dies, he's not being punished yet. Okay, he just simply sleeps. Okay, he has to sleep until what he calls the set time, where God will show it to you. Okay, if you read into the Bible, there are many instances where okay, let's look at Adam and Eve when they sinned. Okay, God went in and first thing he asked is, "Where are you, Adam?" As though he doesn't know. He knows where Adam is. Okay, so God asked the question, "Where are you? What did you do?" Okay, or why? What happened? Okay, now it doesn't mean that God doesn't know. What God is going through is He's going through an investigative judgment. He's asking the individual. Okay, He knows what happened, but He wants to listen to Adam. He wants to listen to Eve, and even the serpent. Okay, God is very fair. He listens to everyone. He investigates every case individually before He decides on the judgment. All right, so it's the same with this one here. All right, God will judge whether you're Hitler or whether you're a normal person. God will judge you. And in the great controversy, He said that in the last days, the New Jerusalem comes down to earth itself, and all the people will be gathered by Satan to attack the New Jerusalem. Okay, interestingly enough, when the New Jerusalem came down, the gates were opened. People were allowed to actually go in. If they ask me, the gates were open, but nobody went in. Okay, and Satan gathered all the people together and they attacked that city. And then in great controversy, it said that suddenly everybody saw that their life history, everything that they have done, run in front of their eyes. They see all the chances that they were given, how God has taken care of them and so on. And everyone bow down on the knees and praise God because God is just. So every one of us will be given a chance. Okay, God has recorded everything. So again, like I said, I do not know what exactly is the limit, but God has a limit for everyone and God is fair and just. Let's carry on. Okay. Okay, when they talk about God, usually when they use the word fiery flame, it's one of those words that they use to describe judgment. Okay, God's throne and then there's fire coming out, fire. So that's what it is. I don't think anyway that is another topic where people are burned by fire. That's another story. Okay, but whenever they use the word fire, they're looking at judgment. So again, this scene that we just saw is talking about judgment itself. And very interestingly, if you study Ezekiel chapter 1 and 3, you'll see that God's throne is on wheels, and the wheels can go in any direction, up, down, right, left, almost instantly it can turn. It's so mobile, so agile, it's like it has a life of its own. All right, so that God's throne is something that can move about. It's a life of its own itself. That was something interesting, but let's go on. Okay, now, if it's a judgment time, then who is the judge? Well, in John 5:22, he said that all the judgment is committed to Jesus Christ. Okay, so Jesus will be the judge, not the Father. Okay, the Father has given the judgment to Jesus, and Jesus will be the one who will be judging every one of us. Okay, so you will see that there will be a change of role. When Jesus first was resurrected, he acts as a high priest, he intercedes for us. Okay, then he goes into the next phase. He's a judge, where he actually goes through all the records. Okay, and yes, you will talk more about this investigative judgment when you go on to the next 2 chapters. All right, so Jesus acts as a high priest right now. Okay, and then very soon you find that when his role is finished, when he has finished going through all the books, he will come out and then he becomes the king. That's his final role. Okay, we'll talk more about that later on when we go on to the next 3 or 4 chapters. Okay. In the courts itself, they saw that there were many angels, thousands and 10,000s about 10,000. Okay, what happened was that in the ancient language itself, they do not have a word for a million. They do not have a word for a billion. Okay, and only recently then they got trillion, hexillion, and so on. But in those days they don't. So they use up to thousands. Okay, 10,000 and 10,000 is 100 million. Thousands of thousands is a million. Okay, so that is the language that they use at the time. Basically, what it means that there were so many angels there that it's hard to count. Okay, so you find that at that gathering itself, they have the elders who are helping to judge. You got the Father, and then later you saw Jesus coming in clouds. Okay, and then you have witnesses. All the angels there were so excited and watching what was happening. Okay, it's really an interesting scene. Then it changes. Okay, from the scene of the judgment itself, it changes. Okay, he turned around, probably back to earth itself, and then he saw what happened after all these judgment. He turned around, he saw that little horn, the beast with the little horn, and he heard the sound of pompous words, very proud words. Okay, words of defiance. All right, and he did the next part. He did, and I watched till the beast was slain. The body was destroyed and given to the burning flame. Okay, we'll talk more about that a little later. But what was something that was puzzling to me for a while was verse 12. Okay, remember there were 4 beasts. The last beast is now destroyed. Okay, the papacy is destroyed. There were 3 other beasts. And see that the rest of the beasts, in other words, the 3 other beasts itself, the dominion was taken away and their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. Okay, now, if I understand correctly, when Babylon fell to the Persian, they lost their dominion. Okay, when the Persian fell to the Greeks, I thought they lost it.
Daddy, come on, guys, to the
Okay.
I'm trying to
All right. Who is that now? Okay. Okay. So I thought that all those 3 beasts were killed when the 4th beast comes up, but apparently here, the rest of the beasts were still alive when the 4th beast was destroyed. So there's something for us to think about. Okay, and their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. Okay, now some authors, some commentators think that the time prolonged for a season and time refers to the culture, refers to their religion. So the Babylonian religion and culture was carried on. Okay, and in a way it is true. Many of the gods, whether it's Egyptians or whether it is Romans or whatever, they actually are related to each other. The Greeks gods are all related. Okay, so their religion actually are carried over and changed a little bit, culture. Alexander the Great, okay, what happened was that he wanted to integrate with the people that he captured, okay, that he had conquered. So he married Bactrian, one of those tribal princes, okay, and he even get his own soldiers to marry these Persians' wives and so on. Okay, he tried to integrate, and because of the Greece itself, we have this Greek culture being spread all over, Hellenistic culture. Okay, this is very important because God was actually preparing for the time of Jesus when the Anointed One comes, and the Greek culture actually helps to actually unify, okay, the world at that time. So God is preparing for Jesus to come. Later, when the Roman came, the Roman built roads all over so that the message of God can be spread all over. So they have that. So some commentators, they interpret it as the cultures of the Babylonians, the Greeks, and the Romans will carry on for a little period. We'll talk a little bit on that a little later, okay? Some other insights on that. Let's carry on with what we have. Gabriel came and he explained to Daniel, okay? And notice that the emphasis is on the fourth beast, okay? And we will spend quite a bit of time in this chapter and the next two chapters on the fourth beast, especially the little horn, okay? And so let's look at the interpretation, okay? Gabriel told Daniel, I said, look, the fourth beast is the fourth kingdom. And he mentioned this, he said that this fourth kingdom will be different from other kingdoms, okay? And they will devour the whole earth. They will trample and break it into pieces, okay? And then the 10 horns that they see on this beast itself are 10 kingdoms, okay? And these kingdoms will arise, okay? And after this 10 kingdoms that arise, there's one that will come out. Again, this one is different from the first 10, okay? As it comes out, it plucks up 3 kings, okay? And this little horn, this new king was tiny, and he started to grow, and they started to speak blasphemous words against the Most High, that is referring to God, okay? And this little horn will actually persecute the saints, and he thinks, or he intends, he want to change times with the S and laws, okay? And he actually, for a short time, he actually subdued the saints, and there was this term that says for times, and half a time. So said Gabriel was explaining it to Daniel. This is what happened. Okay, let's see what it is. All right, first of all, I'm interested in the time and the times, and half a time. Okay, most of you have been in church long enough. You understand this interpretation. Okay, in the Bible, one prophetic day refers to one literal year, and I have some examples over there. Okay, in Numbers, the spies went into Canaan. Okay, and for 40 days they were in there. Then when they came out, they gave all sorts of reports that were not very good, and they discouraged the Israelites from going in. And so the punishment was for every day they had to stay in the wilderness for 1 year. Okay, so that was one of those instances where you have a day for a year interpretation. The other one was Ezekiel. Ezekiel was given the command to do an object study lesson. He lies on one side of his body for, I can't remember how much for the time. Anyway, he lied. I think it was written there 390 days. He lied on one side. Then after he turned on to the other side too. Okay, and for 40 days, and he said that, okay, this is actually a prophecy. Every day that he lies onto the side itself, the people of Israel, the northern kingdom, will be punished. Then when he turned on to the right side, same thing happened. Every day that he lied on his side itself, the kingdom of Judah, the southern kingdom, will be destroyed. okay, or rather be punished. So there we have the day-year principle, okay, and then they have other examples over there that talks about this day-year thing. So we will use this idea. Every prophetic day refers to one literal year, okay. We have to use this because, especially when you go on to the next two chapters, 2,300 days, and then you try to fit into what the prophecy says, you cannot fit in literally. Okay, so we have to expand it to the literal prophetic days. Okay, so we do that. All right, so bear in mind that in prophecy, one day actually is one literal year. Okay, and so let's go back to the times and dividing of times. Now, Hebrew has a very funny grammar. They don't have plural. It's something like the, I don't know whether you know Malay or Indonesian. Okay, I think, okay, Indonesian, for example. So when you have one pencil, they call it pencil. Okay, but when you have many pencils, they call pencil, or books, buku. Okay, they repeat the word, meaning that there are more than one. That's the plural. Same with the Hebrews. Okay, when they use the word times without the S singular, it means 1 year. All right, 1 year. But if they say times, okay, with the S, it means 2 years. Okay, if they want 3 years, then they will say 3 times. Or if they want 5 years, it's 5 times. Okay, so time is 1 year. Times with the S is 2 years. Okay, dividing of time simply means you cut your year into half a year. So times, and half time is 3.5 years. Okay, 3.5 prophetic years. And if you actually use that principle that we mentioned just a while ago, that 3.5 years simply means 3.5 prophetic years. Okay, now in in the Bible itself, if you especially look at the book of Genesis, okay, if you actually study into the book of Genesis itself, you find that when they talk about the flood, okay, Noah was so old when he went into the ark itself and so on, you find that during that time, okay, 1 year is actually only 360 days. Okay, so remember that when we talk about the prophetic time itself, 1 year is the same as 360 days. Okay, so we'll use this one to calculate when we do the calculation. Okay, so we say that it's 3.5 years. 3.5 years, okay, times 360, okay, will give you 1260. Okay, these are numbers that you want to remember because when as you study on the next few chapters as well as in Revelation, you will see this term coming up. Okay, all right, if you actually divide it by, okay, following that, 1 month is 30 days, not 31 days, not 29 days, it's 30 days. Okay, using that figure, you find that 3.5 years is the same as 42 months. Okay, so whenever you look into the Bible prophecy, when you see 3.5 years, you see 1,260 days. If you see 42 months, they all refer to the same period of time. Okay, so whether it is in Daniel or whether it's in Revelation, they refer to the same period of time. And that makes it easier for us to compare and see what is happening. Okay, so we can compare and see, okay, if this is happening like that, this is happening, then we can link them together. All right, so this 1,260 days starts in February 538 to 1798. Okay, how do I know that? We have to have a starting date. Okay, so let's look into the prophecy, and we'll give you a starting date the next session, next 2 sessions. Okay, Daniel 8 and then Daniel 9. Daniel 9 gives us the starting date. We'll talk about that when we come to that. But for now, we look at this date itself. How do they get it? Let's go back to the Roman Empire. Okay, at the height, the Roman Empire actually have the whole region. Okay, it conquers the whole region itself. So this is at the height of it. You got this whole portion here, including up there. This is very important, and Middle East is here. Okay, I mentioned in one of the sessions that all these world kingdoms, okay, the kingdom that God gave over to those people, all involve God's people, all involve Middle East. But now it starts to change. Okay, the Middle East, where it was a center, has moved. Okay, it's moving. The center of attraction is no longer the Israelites. Okay, the center of attraction is actually moving to the west itself, to Rome. Okay, and so for the next part, you find that Daniel focused his dream, or rather the dream is focused onto this portion here. Okay, Europe. Okay, and that is important to remember, because when we understand this movement of the focus itself to Rome, we interpret the rest of the Daniel and Revelation in that way itself. So that's what happened. Okay, it's moved. And in Daniel itself, he said that he saw 10 horns. Okay, there were 10 horns. Now,
I think Winky's internet has frozen, I guess.
Yeah,
this
by the
can
look of it. Ah, you're back.
oh,
We can't hear what you said for the last minute.
Yeah,
really? Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right, let me go back then. This is important. Okay. You got this part here?
We got this part and also the map of Rome.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for telling. Please remind me. Okay, because the internet here is getting very unstable. Okay, I do not know why, but it's unstable. So if anything happens, let me know. The devil is working
You
very hard.
forgot to pay your bill.
No, I paid my bill, but the devil is working very, very hard. Okay, so I mentioned that the focus used to be Israel. Okay, so the world at the time was focused around Israel. You don't care about what happened in China or in India or elsewhere. But when it comes to this point itself, the focus shifts over to Europe. Okay, the dream moved over to Europe itself, where they talk about 10 horns. So notice that there is a shift in the focus itself, and so the importance now goes over to Europe itself. And in Daniel, he said that he saw 10 horns. John saw 10 horns in Revelation. Okay, but if you actually look into Europe itself, the Roman Empire, there are actually more than 10 tribes that were there. Okay, but they only saw 10 main ones. So they are not interested in tribes that are outside. Okay, just outside the Roman Empire, they got the Parthians. Some historians think that the Parthians were actually one of the lost tribes. Okay, go further a little bit, you have Genghis Khan, the Han. Okay, and there were lots of other tribes, but they only focus on 10 of them in Europe. Okay, who are the 10? Okay, these are the 10. The Alemanni, which later becomes the Germans. The Burgundian became the Swiss. Okay, Franks, French, Lombards, the Italians. Okay, the Anglo-Saxons, the English, Suevi, the Portuguese. The Visigoths, they were actually in northern Italy, and they were almost wiped out. So a group of them ran over to Spain, where Spain is at the moment, and they actually went and colonized Spain. So the Visigoths. So there is 7 over there. There's 3 more: Heruli, the Vendors, and the Ostrogoths. Okay, in history, you heard about the Vendors. They were very destructive. All right, but what happened was that these three groups, they are what we call as the Arians. Okay, at this point of time, the Roman Church, was very strong, okay, because Constantine and Clovis had converted to Christianity, Catholic, okay, and he forces everyone else to obey. Now there were these three tribes down here: the Heruli, the Vendors, and the Ostrogoths. They, in a way, they believe in God, but they got a pagan beliefs inside there. They also don't believe in Jesus as Son of God. They think that Jesus was another created being. Okay, and these three especially, they were in northern Africa and Italy itself. Okay, and they were especially against the Roman bishop. Okay, they gave a lot of problem in the Roman bishop. Some of them actually went into Rome to destroy things. Okay, and so the Roman church couldn't do anything until this tree was destroyed. So remember, we talked about the dream earlier on, okay, where there were 10 horns, and then out of the 10 horns, there was one tiny horn that came up, okay, and then this tiny horn will pluck out or push out 3 horns, okay, so we have these 3 horns, okay, Heruli, Vendors, and Ostrogoths, they will push out, okay, so that is exactly what Daniel saw in his vision, right to the dot, okay, so that's what it is. A little bit more on the history part. Okay, I mentioned that they are Arians, okay, Arians, like I said, they believe that God is a created being, okay, they have a lot of their paganistic beliefs mixed with the Christianity, and the main thing was they opposes the bishop at the time, okay. Now, at this time itself, the Romans were getting weaker, so what happened was Romans from the east, they actually migrated and set up the capital in Constantinople, okay, that is in Turkey itself. They set up the thing itself, and then they said, okay, since there's no one in charge, what they did was they gave that power to the bishop, and they called the Bishop of Rome. But the Bishop of Rome cannot do anything because of these 3 tribes. And so he couldn't use the power until in by AD 538. All the 3 tribes were wiped out, okay, eradicated totally. And when that happens, the Romans, the church itself became more powerful because there's no resistance, okay. So that is where I got the starting date from, okay, 538, right? So in 538, the bishops became very, very powerful, and then they started to have the Pope. And I have mentioned a couple of instances over here. Okay, Gregory, I think we read quite a bit of this one. Gregory the 7th, he controls everybody, all the emperors and all those, and he said, you must join the church, you must be baptized in the church. Okay, what happened was that King Henry the 4th, he wanted to marry somebody, but he's outside of his marriage. And so what happened was the Pope says, no, you cannot do that. Okay, and King Henry says, why should I listen to you? And he went ahead and do his thing. And what happened was Gregory came, the Pope came and told the people, okay, your king is now excommunicated. Okay, he's no longer in the church itself. When it happened, all the subjects under King Henry decided not to obey King Henry. So much so that even though at the time of all the emperors or the kings, he was the most powerful, when his people started to leave him alone, he lost his power. Okay? So much so that finally he had to go all the way to look for the king. Okay, look for the Pope. And he had to kneel for, I think it was 3 days, 3 days in the snow, in the cold, asking for forgiveness. Okay, and then finally Pope Gregory came and forgave him, and then he went back. Okay, that was how powerful the church was. The moment they give a decree, even the most powerful king had to follow. All right. Okay, same with the other instances. Now, so according to Daniel, this power, this power, little horn, will control the saints, will persecute the saints for times and half a time. 3.5 years. All right, and that is 1,260 years. Starting from 538. Okay. From 5, oops, sorry. Okay, starting from 538. All right, and for 1,260 days, you have 1,798. Okay. Okay. This is the period of persecution. So the Pope was very powerful, and it got more and more powerful. Okay, until in 1798, we'll talk a little bit more again later on. Until 1798, what happened was Napoleon, okay, Napoleon, France, okay, came and said that, look, you're not that powerful. You tone down, don't tell me what to do, or else I come and get you. But Pope Pius was not too happy, and he went on talking about Germany and France and so on. And then Napoleon sent his general, Berthier, and his general with the warship and his army went into Rome, took hold of the Pope and bring him into exile. Okay, and then they kept him in exile until the Pope died. Okay, when that happened, suddenly the power of Rome, sorry, the church went down. Okay, people realized that they are not as powerful as what they are. And even though there are other popes that came out, they were not as powerful, okay, for a period of time. In the book of Revelation, they say that the beast was wounded. And this is the wound that you're talking about, 1798. Okay, it was wounded. But in Revelation, it says that the wound will heal. In fact, when the wound healed, this little horn will get more power than before, be even more powerful than before. Okay, and then they start to persecute and do a lot more things. Okay, so in 1798, that was when the wound came. Okay, exactly 1,260 years, 3.5 years, 42 months. Okay, time times dividing of times. Okay, so again, man cannot tell the future, but God can. And right on the dot, that was what happened. So Daniel is really accurate in that instance. Okay, bearing out the saints, referring to persecutions. During the Dark Ages, that period of time was called the Dark Ages, a lot of people, especially Protestants, were killed. Okay, they are killed by the thousands. The whole group will be wiped out. Okay, if you read the Great Controversy, they got a lot of the history of the Huguenots, talk about the Waldenses and so on. I would advise you, if you like to study more of that, go and look into it, okay, until the Reformation time. Okay, so that was the Dark Ages, and that was the time when the Pope and the Roman Church was actually in control. Now, in Daniel, he says that this little horn intends or think to change times and law. Now, in Daniel chapter 2, verses 21, Daniel said that only God can change the times and seasons. Only God can remove, can set up kings. Only God can do that. But here in Daniel 7, that little horn thinks that he is God. And he tried to change times and laws. Now, look into the 10 Commandments and laws. Which one of the laws has something to do with time?
Sabbath.
Yep, that's right. The 4th commandment, the Sabbath. Okay, and the 10 Commandments, right in the middle, the 4th commandment talks about time. Time, the Sabbath, the 7th-day Sabbath, is the only commandment that tells you who God is. God is our creator. That gives us the reason why we worship him, because he created us. Okay, so that is a very important thing. And so what happened was Satan, using the little horn, tried to change his times and the law. They did change other times too. Okay, they actually tried to confuse the people by changing the work week. Okay, they tried to change it to 8 days. Okay, to they shift the calendar, okay, the Gregorian calendars and so on. They try to shift things to confuse people, okay. But God kept His time, 7 days, and keeps on going, okay. So when the beast thinks to change time and laws, this is what he was trying to do. He was trying to change the Sabbath, okay. He wants to take down, okay, in this book, Revere and Error, okay, he says that what happened is that the Sabbath is pointing us, okay, on the road towards heaven. And Satan came and changed the directions. What he did was he changed the signpost. Instead of a 7th-day Sabbath, he changed it to the 1st-day Sabbath. Okay? But the 7th-day Sabbath is the only day that God has put aside, sanctified, and blessed it. So that is the only day that was there. But Satan came in and said, no, I'm going to change it. And so he said that he uses the Pope and he changed it to the 1st day. All right? And he's very proud of it. The church is very proud of it. Okay, many times when they were questioned, why do you keep Sunday? Okay, and say, oh, it's not written in the Bible, but the Pope says that we worship on the 1st day. Okay, and they're so proud. They say, look, all the rest of the world are following us. That means that we have the authority to change the Sabbath from the 7th to the 1st day. Right? So that is one of the things that you want to watch out for, and that's what he did. Right? So Satan's purpose of changing the 7th day to the 1st day is to redirect people's mind from the Creator to something else. Right? And in Revere and Error, it says that he wants it to be a sign of disloyalty. Okay, and he's doing that. If you are watching the news, especially nowadays, okay, there are lots of signs. The Pope is now calling a day of not worship, but a day where we want to take care of nature. What happened was that during the COVID-19, when people are not allowed to go out, they found that the earth started to actually become better. Pollution has lessened. Okay, animals are coming out, everything is producing naturally. And so now they're going to use it as an excuse. They're going to say that, okay, now what we'll do is once a week, we'll take a day off so that the environment will improve. Okay, then they'll slowly change that, oh, not only that, we'll take the same day off so that the family can come together. Okay, and they are slowly actually changing the forcing people, not forcing, but causing people to worship on the 7th day. That's something interesting. Just watch out for that. All right, anyway.
Yeah, but they're trying to change from God-oriented to man-oriented.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, correct. Okay, God's way against with man's way. And they think that by doing so, they're going to save the earth. All right, so that's what it is. But behind that, in the scenes behind.
But they're very powerful. They're using world peace, right? Look after the environment, right? Equality, right? Yep. And so forth, you know, and so you can see it's coming.
Correct. And right now you see the army coming in to play. We'll talk a little bit more on that later on. But yep, you're right. Okay, step by step. So you have to open your eyes. The reason why we are studying Daniel is, looking at Daniel, is yes, you can see a lot of these things happening. And that is why your eyes have to be opened. All right, that was good thoughts. Anyone has any thoughts on that? Anyone else? Okay, all right. Let's look at the little horn. It is important for us to identify exactly who the little horn is. Okay, if you don't identify the little horn and we think it's something else, somebody else, Satan will lead us away. All right, so these are the characteristics, and if you can, I would suggest you want to, excuse me, copy this down or list it somewhere to look at that characteristics. Okay, then you can slowly identify, because most of the world, right now, most of the churches, they think that the little horn was somebody else. I'll talk about one of them later on. Okay, so let's look at Oh dear. Okay, so the first one is this little horn started off small. Okay, it grows and then becomes greater and greater until it becomes more stout than his fellows. Okay, so the little horn grows, number one. Number two, the little horn grows among the 10 horns. It came out from one of them. Okay, but he pushed out 3 and then he took over. Okay, we already talked about that earlier on. As it started to grow up, he says that man's eyes, a man's mouth was given to it, and he spoke great things now. The great things actually should be translated as blasphemy. Okay, he started to blaspheme. Okay, I'll talk about blasphemy in a little later. Okay, he spoke boastful words, pompous words. Not only does he speak pompous words, he speaks pompous words against the Most High. All right, he claims that he was actually the place of the Most High. Okay, now.
The Pope actually is the Son of God, a representative of God on earth.
Yep,
it's
that's
on
right.
their crown.
Yeah. Nowadays, they don't wear it anymore. They put
No.
it aside, there's something else. But yeah, that's right. Okay. When we talk about 666, they actually use that. So yes, the Vicar or the Son of God actually means that I am the representative of God. In fact, they think that the representative of God is more powerful than God himself. Anything that the Pope says is true and will be changed. So yeah, they speak pompous words. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, now
They're not saying they're powerful than God. They're saying whatever they do, God agrees.
yeah, which means it's more powerful, even more powerful than Jesus himself.
Well, they didn't, they're not
Yeah,
saying that loud.
They don't say, yeah.
That's
okay.
what they're implying.
Implication, yeah, that's right. So whatever they say on earth will be done in heaven. That's what they are saying. So anything they say will follow. If they change the laws, that's what it is. Okay, and then if you look at this little horn, notice that they arise only after the 4th kingdom, okay, or during the time of the 4th kingdom, not the 3rd kingdom. Okay, and I emphasize that because that's what many of the other churches did. Okay, they look at, okay, these are the preterists. They believe that the 1st kingdom was Babylon, 2nd kingdom was the Medes, the 3rd kingdom was the Persians, and then the Greece. Okay, so Greece is the main one. Okay, so they change that thing itself, but it's not. All right, so let's carry on with the rest. It's diverse. Now, I think it was one of those sessions I mentioned. If you look at the statue itself, and I mentioned that one of the ways to interpret the kingdoms that come is this. Remember, any kings that is before the anointed one, they are just political powers, not so much religious. There's religion, but they're more political powers. After the anointed one, the powers that was mentioned is more religious in nature than political. Okay, that is one of those principles that I'm holding over here. The little horn came after the anointed one. And so he was different from the others in that he is more religious. Okay, it's more religious in nature. Okay, and then the 10th one says that he persecuted the saints, he changed times, we mentioned about that already. Okay, and then for a times and dividing of time. Okay, and this kingdom will only last until just before the arrival of the Ancient of Days, when the judgment will come and then he will be destroyed. Okay, those are the characteristics. Let's try to apply the characteristics into some of those things. Okay, now we mentioned about blasphemy. There are 2 definitions of blasphemy in the Bible, in the New Testament. Okay, one of them is in John 10. Okay, when Jesus said, "My Father and I are one," and those people wanted to stone him. So why are you doing that? Are you stoning me for my good works? The people say, "No, because you blaspheme. You claim that you are God." Okay, so one definition, blasphemy is trying to be equal with God. Okay, the second definition is when Jesus was healing. Okay, remember that paralyzed man that came down, and Jesus says, "Your sins will be forgiven." And the people wanted to stone him again. Okay, why? Because Jesus can said that he can forgive sin. But the definition of blasphemy is no one can forgive sin except for God. Okay, so those are the two definitions. And you find that the Pope has spoken those two definitions. Okay, in the Bible they don't call him the Pope, they call him the Antichrist. Okay, the Antichrist, or the son of perdition. Okay, all right, I'm going to run through a little bit quickly on this one here. Okay, so they mentioned that during the time of the apostles, the Antichrist was already there. All right, there are many, not just one, but many. So it's not one individual. It's a whole system or whole groups of people with the same motives. Okay, behind them is the same force. In Revelation, the force is identified as the dragon. So it's not one person only. You won't say only this person, but it's a whole system. It's a whole group of them. All right. So that's what it is now. Interestingly enough, when I was teaching in the Muslim schools, okay, the Muslim also believe in a Messiah that is coming. Okay, they call it Musjid or something like that. Okay, they say that when the earth rotates from the west to the east, when it reverses, their Messiah will come. Okay, and they also believe that Jesus will come as the Messiah. Okay, he will come as the Messiah itself. Okay, let me go back. And okay, and Jesus will go out and conquer, will bring the Israelites to conquer the rest of the world, to make peace. Also in the Islam, they also have an Antichrist called the Dajjal or something, pronounced that way. Okay, so the Muslim got their own variation of what we believe. Messiah is coming, there will be Antichrist that will come before the Messiah. Okay, so Satan is working very hard. They can come out with some counterfeit. All right. Okay, the word Catholic actually originally was a good thing. It simply means universal, one big family. But then they started to change it to Roman Catholic later on. All right. If you look into the book of Revelations, okay, there was this pure woman that ran into the wilderness for 3.5 years. Okay, the wilderness was the pure church. Then later on, John was brought into the wilderness to look. And when he went into the wilderness to look, he saw a woman in red sitting on the beast, drinking the wine. That was the same woman that was in the wilderness in pure white. Okay, that's the same the church. The church started off pure, but later was changed. Okay, when we go to Revelation, if we are studying that, then we'll talk more about that, but that's what happened. Now, most of the other churches, they believe that the Antichrist or the little horn was Antiochus, okay, Epiphanes. Okay, he is actually one of the Syrian kings. Remember when Alexander died, he divided his kingdom into 4 kingdoms. Okay, the southern kingdom in Egypt was the Ptolemy, and then the Seleucids took the northern kingdom, and then later they captured the other 2. Okay, or rather they combined the other 2. So you got a kingdom from the north and the south. When we go to chapter 10, okay, and chapter 11, we talk more about the kingdom in the north and south. But most of the churches believe that Antiochus the fourth is actually the little horn. Okay, why? Because he went around and persecuted the saints for 3 years, not 3.5, but 3 years. Okay, he even went to the temple to sacrifice a pig. All right, so he desecrated the whole century services. Okay, that's what they believe. Right. However, there was a lot of problem with him. First of all, Antiochus was a Seleucid. He came during the Greek, okay, right after the Greek peace, not after the Romans. So he was disqualified. In Daniel, he says that the last animal becomes the next chapter. Okay, becomes extremely great. Not Antiochus. Antiochus did not become extremely great. In fact, he was humiliated by the Romans. Okay, he went down to Egypt to conquer them. He actually did. Then he went back up again. Then when he came down to conquer for good, destroy the Egyptian, Romans sent an ambassador. Okay, Populus Lanus. this ambassador came and he told Antiochus, he said, Antiochus, I want you to make a decision. Okay, I want you to go back. Leave Egypt alone. You cannot conquer Egypt. Then Antiochus said, give me some time to think. Okay, then this ambassador went, he took a stick and he drew a circle around Antiochus. And he told Antiochus, you cannot leave the circle until you make a decision. Now, according to history, Antiochus left the circle, he went back home. Okay, and then he got lots of problems. When we go into chapter 10, we'll talk a little bit more on this guy itself. Okay, so he did not fit into the characteristics that I mentioned earlier on the little horn. Okay, one reason why they are pushing for him to be the little horn is because they want to shift the attention from the Pope to somebody else. Okay, they say everything is fulfilled before the Pope came in, so the Pope cannot be that little horn. All right, so that's what they did. All right, anyway, I'm running out of a little bit of time, so let me just go on. I mentioned this before. Okay, all right, so the court took place, okay, in verse 36, 26, and then they sat there, and then they actually took the dominion and gave it to Jesus. All right, and then the new kingdom came and took over the place. Okay, this is the judgment itself. Now, Daniel, when he saw the thing itself, he was troubled. His face changed, and I can understand why. Now, remember this. Daniel is not writing everything that he saw or hear. Okay, he's only writing a summary. So there's a lot more things that he actually seen and heard. But it's not written there, so we do not know for sure. So he's seen a lot more than what he wrote. Okay, all right, now, just a bit of review, overview on chapter 7. Okay, now, if you actually look at chapter 7, these are the animals, the heads, and so on. Okay, and you compare it with Revelation 13. In Revelation 13 itself, you also have a beast, but this beast has 7 heads. And on his 7 heads, he has 10 horns. I'm not sure how they divide it, but 7 heads, and they got 10 horns on it. This is the same as what Daniel saw. Daniel saw the beast, and if you count the heads itself, there are 7 of them. Started off with 10 horns, just like in Revelation 13. So when you study Daniel and you study Revelation 13 and 17, you find that there is a link, all right? Something that is interesting when you study into Revelation itself. Now, what I'm going to do next, I'm going to compare some of the things that we have. Remember, I told you that when you study Daniel, you must have an overview picture as well as the trees. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going back up there. Okay, I'm comparing Daniel 2 and 7. Daniel 2 was a dream given to Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel 7 is a dream given to Daniel himself, where he actually sees it. And in this dream itself, he saw it at night, same with Nebuchadnezzar. He was sleeping when he had this dream. Okay. Nebuchadnezzar is very static. All he saw was the statue not moving, made up of 4 different metals and 1 mineral, the clay. Okay. Daniel saw more details. He saw 4 beasts. They look like this, 4 beasts. And these beasts were moving out from the sea. So there's some movement, a little bit more movement. Okay, but these are wild beasts. All right. So that's the comparison with those 2 dreams. Let's go on and we'll skip that. Now, in Matthew 24 and Luke 21, most of you will know this prophecy. The disciples came to Jesus and they were walking down Mount of Olives. Now, the Mount of Olives has a valley, then it goes up to Jerusalem. As they were coming down, they can see this splendid looking building. It's the pride of the Jewish people. It was sparkling white. But Jesus said something. Jesus said that not one stone on the temple will be left on top of each other. Everything will be cast down. And the disciples were very excited. And so they asked him. Now, the disciples had a misconception. They think that the fall of that temple is the same as the end of the world. So they asked this question. Tell us about this destruction of the temple. Tell us about your coming. Tell us about the end of the world. Okay? Now, when Jesus replied, he gave them a lot of signs. but he did not classify them separately. He put everything together. In the book Desire Ages, they say that Jesus did it because the disciples were not ready to listen to all the details. So he gave them a picture or overview pictures of all the signs. And then in verse 15, he says this, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of Daniel, then you know that the end is near. When you have a chance, get out of there. Now, in Luke 21, he says the same thing, but he put it in different words in verse 20. He said that when you see Jerusalem encompassed by armies, then the desolation is near. So you have armies and the desolation, abomination. Abomination refers to idol worship. When you have these two coming out, run to the mountains, run into the wilderness. Okay, so Jesus was giving his disciples that the thing is done. Now, what I want to emphasize here is that Jesus was giving what we call a dual prophecy. Same sign, but refers to different events. Okay, now I want you to look at Daniel. Any questions first? No. Okay, I want you to look at Daniel and John. Both of them are looking at the same situation, but there is a number of differences. Okay, in Daniel 8 itself, let me get my. Okay, Daniel 8 itself, he says that, okay, this thing will not come yet. Okay, Daniel was told it will only come at the end. Okay, for many days. Okay, so Daniel was looking forward. It's going to happen somewhere in the future, but for a while. But when John was given the task, guess what? John was told it will happen shortly. It's going to happen very soon. Okay, so John was brought to the time when the things was going to happen that Daniel saw. Okay, from what he was looking at the future and see what John was looking at. So can you see the time frame? Okay, Daniel was looking way into the future. John was living at the time when this thing will be happening very soon. Let's go on. Daniel was told to close and seal until the time of the end. Okay, because these things are not yet. It's going to be fulfilled later. So even though Babylonian was there almost finishing, Persian is coming, Greece is coming, Daniel was told, seal it up because it's not ready yet. Go back to John. What was John told? John was told not to seal it. Why? Because the time is at hand. Okay, interesting. Two different views. Okay. Daniel looked into the future. He looked into the sea and he saw 4 distinct creatures. Okay, let me change that to the pen. Okay, so imagine that this is, okay, Daniel, and he was looking. And what he saw was a lion coming up from the sea, followed by a bear, then followed by a leopard, and then he got this beast. Okay, the beast with 10 horns. Okay, he saw 4 different animals, one after the other. He's looking into the future. So it is moving into the future. Now, what is interesting is John, okay, in Revelation 13. So we have John over here. Okay, and John is looking and he sees something. He says, first thing he saw was the beast. Okay, the beast came out of the sea. The beast has 7 heads, 10 horns, similar to Daniel. After that, then he saw that this beast itself, not only does he see the beast, he noticed that this beast is actually made up of a leopard. He has the legs of a bear and the mouth of the lion. Do you see any similarity? And can you see the difference? Daniel was looking into the future. So he saw the lion first, then the bear, then the leopard, then the beast. And he saw 4 different things. John looked from the other side. He looks back into the past. What did he see? He saw the beast. The beast has the head of the leopard, excuse me, okay, the feet of the bear and the mouth of the lion. He saw the same animals that Daniel saw, but in the opposite direction. So they're looking from both sides.
Mm.
Okay, that is interesting because from one view, another view, that is what it is. Now, I mentioned earlier on that there is a dual prophecy where Jesus describes a few events using the same sign. And this is one of those times when you see the same thing. Daniel was seeing the same event. John was seeing the same event, but from different angles. Okay, Daniel saw 4 beasts. John saw only 1. Same number of heads, same number of crowns. Okay, but this one beast has the same characteristics as the 4. Okay, so I hope you are looking at what I'm seeing now. Okay, very interesting point of view. Okay, so let's read a little bit more. Okay, in Daniel's vision, okay, he saw the beast itself, and he saw that the beast was slain. We mentioned that earlier on when the judgment takes place, the beast was thrown into the fire itself. Okay, and then what was interestingly enough, he says this. Okay, the rest of the beasts, the 4 beasts, the rest of the beasts, they will not pass away. They actually were living at the same time as the 4th beast. 4 of them were living together. That's what Daniel said. And when the 4th beast was destroyed, the other 3 had the dominion taken away, but their lives were prolonged for a little time, a short time. Okay. Now, if you look at strictly from one aspect, you see Babylonian destroyed, Persian destroyed, Greece destroyed, Roman came in, Roman got destroyed. Okay, they were destroyed, the dominion was taken away. But what did Daniel say? No, Daniel says that they actually have the dominion, but it was only taken away when the 4th beast was destroyed. So we are looking at 2 events now. Okay, historical event, and there is something else that's going to happen, like what John saw, where the beast is dead. Now let's look at John. What did John say? Okay, John says that there are 7 kings, and then later there was an 8th king. All right, 5 have fallen. 1 is, the other one is coming soon. Okay, now if you look into and you count it carefully, you look into the Daniel's vision. Okay, in Daniel's vision itself, not Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, actually let's look at Nebuchadnezzar because they are related anyway. All right, so we have Daniel's visions. Then you have your 10 toes. Okay, I didn't count how many toes there are. All right, so the first empire was the Babylonian. The second empire was the Medo-Persians. Okay, Middle Persian, and this portion here is the Greece. Okay, now Jesus was living around that time. Okay, so this is supposed to be the 4th. But notice that the Roman Empire actually is broken down into 2 phases. The first phase was what they call Imperial Rome, where they ran as a pagan. Then later on, they changed the whole phase. They become Christians, or to be more precise, they follow the paper. So actually that Rome has 2 legs. There are actually 2 kingdoms. So this becomes the number 5th kingdom. Right? Now after them, there was 10 more kingdoms over here. Okay, the 6 kingdoms, the toes. All right. This is what I believe. When John was viewing all these things that was happening, okay, as he was looking back in history, he saw 1, 2, 3, 4, how many? 5 kings. What does he say down here? 5 are fallen. He's looking at this one down here, number 6. One is. After the toes were destroyed, okay, or at the end, at the tip itself, where the 10 toes, there will be another one coming. Okay, there will be another one who will come in itself to take over the world. He's not here yet. He's coming. He's coming. Okay, and this is the king that will come for a short space, for a short time. Later on, we learn that it actually is 1 hour. Okay, so right at the tip where the 10 toes are, there will be another one who will try to unite the whole world. Okay, but he's not here yet. He's only here for a short while. And the beast that was is not. Okay, it's the 8. Now, let's look at this one. It's very interesting. Okay, the 8 beasts refers to the papacy. If you look into Revelation, that is the land beast. Okay, there's a sea beast, there's the land beast. Okay, that's the papacy. Now, papacy was, because what happened was it was very powerful before 1798, it was very powerful. After 1798, they lost its power. Okay, so it's not powerful. Okay, but he will become powerful again when the head was totally healed, and then he'll be the 8th kingdom. Okay, but this 8th kingdom will go into perdition. They will be destroyed, just like what Daniel saw. Okay, now here's another thing that was interesting in Revelation. There were 10 horns. Okay, but notice that these 10 horns, Daniel says that, or Gabriel says that 10 horns are 10 kings or 10 kingdoms. John says they haven't got any kingdom yet. There'll be 10 horns. They haven't got a kingdom yet, but they will receive powers as king for 1 hour. Okay, in the statue itself, the 10 toes are coming. They are almost at the 10 toes. There will be 10 kings. They will be given power for 1 hour. And after the hour is up, the beast, the papacy will be destroyed, will be burned out. Okay, so that is the prophecy that's very, very close to where we are. All right, let me just pause for a little while. Anyone got any questions on that?
So America and China is not in this prophecy, is that right?
I didn't say that. Wait for a little while, Eva. Just a moment. We'll come to that question. But it's very observant. Okay, let's talk to that. All right, so that is what we are looking at. Now, 10 horns, 10 kings that are not yet. It's no longer in the past. Remember Jesus in Matthew 24 and Luke 21? They talk about the destruction of Jerusalem, AD 70. Then he talks about his coming again. So another event. And this is what happened. The 10 toes are the other event that we're looking at. Okay? Notice also this, that in Revelation, there's only 1 beast, not 4 beasts. So it's slightly different from what Daniel sees in terms of the interpretation. All right, the 3 beasts are still around. Now, I'm looking at the future. I do not know, okay, what exactly the beasts are. Okay, so this is where Eva's question comes in. All right, we do not know, but this is what I suspect. Okay. In the last day, there'll be world powers. Okay, lion. Okay, lions. If you look into Ezekiel 38, 39, okay, the lion of Tarshish. Okay, today lion actually refers to UK. Okay, if you look at the emblem of, okay, let me just go down a little bit. Okay, you look at the emblem. Okay, you find that the lion is an emblem for UK. And what was interesting is this. I don't know whether you heard of Kensut. Now that UK is out of Europe, they are forming, UK is combining with Canada, Australia, New Zealand. That's where the word CANSUD comes in. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK. They are now combining together to form trade. Okay, they're starting off with trade. Okay, CANSUD. And they are considered as the lion of Tarsus, okay, or the little lions. Okay, so these are the lions. Now, bear right now refers to Russia. I'm not sure what leopard is. Okay, leopard could mean China, it could mean folk. I'm not sure because right now I'm not sure what leopard is. Most likely it could be China. Okay, and of course the beast refers to the papacy, which is, like I mentioned, is shifted to Europe. So the beast that is the fourth beast is Europe. Okay, now again, this is just speculation. Okay, there will come a time when you actually see it happening very, very soon. This is what I suspect. Okay, now currently the permanent members, what happened was after the Second World War, they formed the United Nations, and they have permanent members who will be definitely there. Okay, others have to apply for membership. These four will be the permanent members, and they have the not four, sorry, five. They are the ones that can have the veto power. If they don't like something, they say I veto it. Then UN will have to follow them. The current powers are US, UK, Russia, China, and France. Okay, these are the powers that is there. And it's interesting to watch France and UK are having problems in terms of the fishing deal and so on. But that's what it is. So this could be something to look at. Now, what is interesting is this. UN actually look at the whole world, okay, and they actually divide the whole world into 10 regions. This is one of those divisions. Okay, here's another one. Okay. The New World Order, they divide the world into 10 different religions according to the district. Okay, so they already have an idea about 10 regions. Okay, right now it's not there. Okay, the regions are not there, but they already have an idea. And so very soon we'll be coming to this. Okay, just a little bit more calamity, just a little bit more problems. Okay, a little bit more war. And then you'll find this new world order. Okay, right now, if you look at the whole world itself, you find a lot of agitation going on. China with Russia, with US, with India. Okay, Greece with Turkey. Okay, and then there's a peace plan in Israel. Okay, UAE and others are making peace and so on. So there's a lot of agitation and shifting of powers. It's very interesting to watch. All right, let me just go on. Okay, the Bible says that there will not be a fifth kingdom. There's only 4 world kingdoms. Okay, there's no fifth. Many people tried. Okay, I met a few names over here. I think you have known some of these names. Okay, Charlemagne, Charles, Napoleon, okay, Kaiser, a German friend, okay, Mussolini, Italy, Hitler, very famous, and even EU. Okay, when they first formed EU, they just formed it as a trade. Now they are actually coming to a point where they actually are building up militarily. Okay, because they are worried about other king. US is withdrawing, UK is withdrawing, so they are building up their military there. Okay, so people tried to unite the whole world, but God says no. There won't be any more united world. The world will be iron and clay mixed together until Jesus comes again. Okay, all right. So that's what it is. I mentioned about iron and clay. Okay, iron and clay could mean that they do not mix totally. Okay, they try to mingle the seeds of men. They try to intermarry. They try to do that, but it doesn't work. Now, there's another interesting twist to this. In manuscript itself, Ellen G. White says this. Okay, the iron and clay okay, iron refers to the state. Clay, the potter's clay, Daniel says very clearly, the potter's clay is actually representing the church. And the iron and the clay mixed together, you find that the church and the state start to mingle together. Okay, that is where we have to be very careful. That is where in Matthew and in Luke, we talk about the abomination where the army combines with the church. Okay, you get the thing. So watch out. This is one of those last time. Okay, where the church and the state come together, and we've seen it in the past before. Okay, when USSR was still around. Okay, Reagan's political power went to talk to the Pope. Okay, John Paul, and they said they combined together, and then they started to push. Okay, first, okay, they pushed into Russia itself, and then told Russia to tear down this Cold War, this thing itself, and eventually what happened? Okay, the war really dropped off. Berlin's Wall dropped off. Russia broke off into pieces. Okay, no more USSR. Now they're broken down. Okay, so when political power combined with the Pope itself, they're very powerful. Okay, and this is George Bush Jr. George Bush Sr. said the same thing. They wanted to have a new world order. Okay, and after September 11th, you find that the people are more prone towards this idea. Okay, so you'll find that this is pushing up. The new world order is coming. Okay, just a matter of time. So Daniel foresees all this. Okay, he saw all this, and then he actually gave us a little bit of hint of what's going to happen. Okay. Okay, let me just get out from here. All right, our time is up. Okay, we can't go further than that. So I hope it's not boring. Everybody has switched off the video. All right. This is some of the things that we look at in Daniel 7. We'll continue in 2 weeks' time on step 8. Okay, sorry, I missed. Is someone talking? Anyone has questions? Sarah?
No.
Okay, someone was asking something. Okay, all right. We have finally concluded on chapter 7 itself. Sorry, no time to go on to chapter 8. So we will look at chapter 8 and maybe chapter 9 because there are a lot of links between 8 and 9 in the next section. But I hope this study will give you a good idea of what's going to happen. We are now at the toes, the period of the toes. Okay, so a lot of things will be happening. Watch for the world. See what's happening in Middle East, in Europe, and the world around. Okay, if there isn't any, we are past 4. So thank you for your time. If there's no more questions, then we will see you in 2 weeks' time. Okay, so I see you. Okay, see you
Thanks,
then.
Winky.
Bye-bye. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, see you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Ricky.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. How come not out yet?
All right.